100% live and interactive classes. If you have any sort of doubt, you can ask to the teacher in the classes only, and the teacher will explain all the concepts in the classes. Right now, coming to the second thing, we give personalized attention to each and every student because maximum 6 students are there in each of our batches. It may be a batch of one student or 2 student, however, like you will choose the batch, so everything will be like that, and maximum 6 students will be there, which will help you to ask any sort of doubt without hesitation to your teacher, and the teacher will explain everything in the classes very smoothly. Fine. Coming to the third thing, that we have a very good dedicated academic mentor team who continuously track how you are progressing. So how you are doing in all the topics, whether you are lagging in certain parameters or not. So everything will be tracked, and accordingly you will get the feedback. This feedback will definitely help you to improve yourself. And coming to the fourth thing, that is we cover the syllabus as per your school examination schedule, and we also handle some of the custom requests. Just say if you have any topic which is already done in your school exam, but was in the school and it is coming in the school exam, so you can request those topics first to us. We will do those topics, and then we will move on to the rest of the topic which are there in your syllabus. Fine. So these are the general features of Swiflearn. Let us now see what are the key features of Swiflearn, and why this Swiflearn is totally different from any other platform. First of all, we maintain a detailed progress report of each and every student. Either everything will be maintained properly, like what is your understanding capacity, what is your competitive approach, you are doing your homework regularly or not. Hi Ankrit. Or whether you are lagging anywhere or not, so everything will be there, and this will help you to understand where you were lagging, and you will be able to improve yourself, right? And also there will be the PTM. जैसे आपके स्कूल में भी होता है PTM, and you will get the progress report in the school also. तो इधर भी होता है PTM, where your parents will be able to directly contact, directly like interact with us, and if they have to share any sort of feedback, or they want to give any advice, they are always welcome. Fine. Coming to the second thing, that we have the SAT, that is the Swiflearn Academic Test Series, which happen in every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., where you will be able to perform and you will get your rank in the leaderboard, where your name as well as the rank will be shown. Now, coming to the third and the fourth thing that is very, very important is practice. You already know that practice makes a man perfect, right? So, after revising all the notes from the textbook as well as the notes which are supplied from Swiflearn, what you have to do is you have to write and practice the question answer. So for that, we have unlimited practice tests. So both objective and subjective assessments are there, mock tests are there. So you will get a lot of different types of question paper of various schools also. So you can solve all those question papers, and mostly this is very important for the subjective test, because mostly students lose mark in the 3 mark 5 mark questions, right? They sometimes miss out what are the key points which are to be included within the answer, or sometimes where to include the diagram or chemical equations. Sometimes you miss it out, and that is why you lose marks. So over here you can write down the answer, upload your diagram and everything, and you can submit it, and definitely we will check your answer, and we will give you the tips and tricks how to improve your answer, so that you will never lose any marks in your board exam as well as the school exam, right? So this is all about Swiflearn. So to experience all those things, what you have to do, yes, you have to book the trial class. So all the trial classes are free of cost. You can book it anytime whenever you are free, and just experience how the classes go on in Swiflearn, and definitely then enroll your name in our regular batches. We will meet every day, and we will discuss a lot about the different topics. Fine. Now coming to the topic, before that, let me remind all of you who have not subscribed our channel till now, please subscribe it and press the bell icon, so that you will never miss any of the update of the upcoming session. You will get the notification before 30 minutes, and you can discuss a lot of different topics live in the live session. In the chat box, you can ask your doubt, right? So let's go with the topic. We are going to start with a new topic. Don't forget to like, comment, and share also. And as you already know, whoever will give me most of the answers correctly, he or she will be the student of the session. I'll write your name on the screen at the end of the session. ठीक है? Chalo. So today our topic is respiration in plant. It is there in ICSE board of class 9th syllabus. So respiration in plants. Uh, Before going to the topic, I have a question to you. What do you mean by this respiration? Because now you are in class 9th and you have already studied about respiration before in class 7th, 8th. You already have an idea, at least the preliminary idea you already have. Hi, Prince. So quickly tell me what do you mean by respiration. In short, or whatever idea you have in your mind, just write it down in the chat box. Okay, great. So quickly write it down in the chat box that what do you mean by respiration? Yes, I don't want any bookish definition or something like that or very correct definition. Whatever idea you have, just put it down. Okay. Yes. So let's see what we are going to discuss in today's session. We will discuss about the respiration as a whole and to be very specific, respiration in case of plants. So what are the different types of respiration and how the plant respire or how the process of respiration takes place within the plant. These are our topic of discussion for today's session. Okay? Okay, you don't remember? No issue. So let me give you some of the examples first. Then I'll tell you what is respiration. So have you ever seen any game or any sports like Olympics where there? So have you ever seen like the athletes are sprinting around the track and they are sometimes out of breath and they sweat a lot? Or if you also do any sort of physical exercise, so what are the changes you see in your body? Yes. Acha, Ankrit is saying respiration is the action of breathing, you want to say, right? Okay, so there is a huge difference between breathing and respiration. What is that difference? Okay, let me see whether you can find out the difference between breathing and respiration today. Okay, so what are the different changes when you are doing a lot of different physical exercise? What do you feel? You were out of breath, you were breathing very fast, your pulse rate becomes high, heart rate becomes high, like you are sweating a lot, right? These are the different changes you can feel. So why do you think this happened? So to calm down, what you have to do, or for doing all these types of sports or physical exercise, what do you basically using up? The energy? Yes. So from where do you get this energy? Any idea? Where do you get this energy from? Yes. Okay, let's go to another example. है ना? So the same thing happens in case of the plant. Though the plants cannot run through the track and like that, like our track stars, but they also need the energy for performing a lot of different types of physiological processes. So they also need the energy. So where do they get the energy from? Yes. Quickly tell me, from where do we get the energy? Where do we get this energy from? And why do you think this energy is so much important for our body? Very good, Ankrit. Exactly. So we get the energy from food. Yes. Without food, air and water, these are the basic needs of human life or the basic needs of all the living organism without which we will not be able to survive, right? So we basically get the energy from the food. Very good. So this process of making the energy from the food, so the food whatever we are eating, these are basically converted to make the energy, and when it is happening within the different living organism, we will call this process as the respiration. Got it? Now let me tell you the difference between this breathing and the respiration. So definitely breathing is the very first step of respiration. Exactly, without breathing we will not be able to get the oxygen, right? So what is the breathing process? It is a physical process, we can say. Just when we breathe in the air and breathe out the air, so while breathing in we are basically taking the oxygen rich air, and when breathing out or exhalation we are giving out the carbon dioxide rich air. Agree with me? So when this oxygen is going inside our body, it is first going to the lungs, and mainly the gaseous exchange will take place within the lungs. Now from the lungs it will go to the heart, and finally through the blood vessels the oxygen will be distributed to all the different parts of our body. Agree? ठीक है. Now after going to all the different organs of our body, what will happen? All the organs are made up of cell, we know that, right? So within the cells, this oxygen will break down the food particles to form the energy. So we are taking the food through our digestive system, we are breathing in the oxygen through our respiratory system. Now when both of them are going to each and every cell of our oxygen organ, what will happen? The oxygen will break down the food molecules, and basically the glucose molecules, to be very specific, it will be broken down and it will produce the energy. Along with the energy, carbon dioxide and water will also be produced as a byproduct, but energy will be produced, and this process is known as the respiration. Now Ankrit, got the difference between breathing and respiration? Yes, breathing is just a physical process, but respiration is something more than this, which happen within the cell, that is a biochemical process. Agree? Up to this much clear hai everything? Yeah, any doubt till now? Let's move on to what is respiration now. Let's see what is respiration. So do you think this respiration only takes place within our body? It doesn't take place within the plant? No. Respiration is such a process that takes place in all the living organisms, whether it is a plant or an animal or a microorganism which we cannot see through our naked eyes. Respiration happens in everywhere, in all the living organisms throughout the day and night. So respiration is nothing but a biochemical process. I have already mentioned why this is a biochemical process, because chemically it is breaking down the food particles with the help of the oxygen to provide the energy, and that is why it is also known as oxidative breakdown of glucose molecule. Okay, oxidative breakdown of glucose molecule. Yes, Pragya, thank you. Chalo. So this oxidative breakdown of glucose molecule is known as the respiration. Let us see what is basically the different characteristic features of this process. So first of all, each breakdown steps need some enzymes. What are enzymes? Anybody, can you tell me what do you mean by enzyme? Yes, quickly. What is the main role of enzyme? From where do the enzymes secreted in our body or in the plant body? What are enzymes basically? Do you think these enzymes are some type of chemical? Yes, we can say this biocatalyst. We can call this as the biochemical catalyst, or basically these enzymes help to do all the different types of chemical reactions, whatever is happening within our body. Yes, Pragya. Yes, correct. So these are basically the chemicals which are secreted from the different special type of tissues from our body. In our body, enzymes basically secrete from the exocrine gland. You already know about the exocrine and endocrine gland. And in case of the plant, the enzymes are secreted from the special types of cells. Okay? So they act as a biocatalyst which help in all the different type of chemical reactions, whatever are happening within our body. They basically speed up the chemical reaction so that the chemical reaction will be able to happen in a very smooth manner, right? Now secondly, this respiration is a catabolic process. What do you mean by this catabolic process? Very important point. This is known as the catabolic process. What do you mean by catabolic? Have you ever heard about the anabolic and catabolic? These are the two different types of metabolism. Okay. Yes, Ankrit, enzyme is a type of biocatalyst which increase the rate of reaction within our body, rate of chemical reaction within the living organism's body. ठीक है ना अंकृत? चलो. So catabolic process का मतलब क्या है? When any simple substances are formed from the complex substances. Basically, the process where complex substances are broken down to form the simple substances, we will call this type of processes as the catabolic process. Very good, Pragya. Breaking down. Okay. So, anabolic, जैसे anabolic process is photosynthesis. तो उधर क्या होता है? Simple substances will be converted into complex substances. And yes, very good. That is the constructive process in case of photosynthesis. And in case of respiration, we will call it as the catabolic process, from where the complex particle, which one is the complex particle? We will see C6H12O6, that is the glucose. So glucose is broken down in presence of oxygen to form carbon dioxide, water, and energy in the form of ATP. Yes, so basically this glucose is a complex molecule which is forming some simple molecules, right? So that is why this catabolic process is known as the destructive process. ये constructive नहीं है, destructive process या फिर breakdown होता है. Understood? Yes, catabolic process का example तो respiration ही है. Yes, so anabolic process is photosynthesis and catabolic process is respiration. Up to this much clear hai? Yes, we can say the catabolic processes in our body. Another catabolic process is there, that is excretion. Okay, now coming to the third point, that the end product of this respiration is obviously carbon dioxide, energy, and a little bit amount of water is also produced in case of aerobic respiration. And finally, the energy which is formed, it is always formed in the form of ATP, whose main full form is adenosine triphosphate. Clear hai? So do you know in which cellular organelle this ATP is formed? Yes. Yes, Pragya, your answer is correct. So quickly tell me which cellular organ. You have already studied about the cell. You already know about the different cell organelles within which the different functions are performed. So which cell organelle basically produce the energy? And that is why, okay, I'm giving you the hint. That is why that cellular organelle is known as the powerhouse of the cell. Quickly tell me now. So where will this process of making of ATP will happen? ATP is the energy, right? So we call this ATP as the energy currency, right? So ATP is formed within the powerhouse of the cell. Very good. Yes, very good, Pragya. Powerhouse of the cell is the mitochondria. Okay, so mitochondria is the cellular organelle where the ATP will be formed. Up to this much, all the points are clear? Yes? Chalo. Very good, Ankrit. Also, yes. So let's see how this process of respiration happens. So in all the living organism, whether it is a plant or animal or microorganism, this respiration will happen. It is the point where the glucose is needed. This process needs the glucose, which is the main starting point, and this glucose will be broken down into energy, carbon dioxide, and water. Hi Akshita. Then this happen in both plant cells, animal cells similarly, and if any of us stop respiring, we will die. We already know that, right? And always remember that respiration is not same as that of the breathing. I hope that you have already got this idea. I have already cleared the idea of the breathing and respiration. Breathing is a physical process which takes place just for the exchange of the gases, inhalation and exhalation. But the respiration is the cellular process or biochemical process which takes place within the cell. Basically, it starts within the cytoplasm and continue till the mitochondria, and within the mitochondria this energy formation will take place. Yes, and finally what will happen? It will give us energy by which we will be able to do all the different work, right? Yes, Pragya, I will tell you who is the star of this session at the end of the session, not now. So it's a suspense, okay? Chalo. So let's now see what are the differences between the photosynthesis and respiration. As I have already mentioned that photosynthesis is the process where the plant is taking the carbon dioxide and giving out oxygen. And this happens only during the presence of the sunlight. That means it only happens during the daytime. right? But respiration is such a process, it is just the opposite of that of the photosynthesis. As we already know, photosynthesis is an anabolic process, so respiration is a catabolic process. If I write down the chemical equation, just the opposite will be the photosynthesis and respiration. And in case of respiration, we need the oxygen and we produce the carbon dioxide as the byproduct, and this respiration takes place throughout the day and night. Okay, so let us see the chemical equation of photosynthesis and respiration. If I start with the photosynthesis, so what are basically needed? Carbon dioxide and water in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll makes C6H12O6, that is the glucose, plus it produces oxygen. This is in case of photosynthesis, right? Do you agree with me? Now, when this glucose in presence of the oxygen is broken down, and similarly the energy is produced with the help of the carbon dioxide, along with the carbon dioxide and water, this process is known as respiration. Now, have you understood that respiration is totally the different, just the opposite to that of the uh, photosynthesis? Yes, got the idea? Chalo, let's continue. Hi, Saraswati. Yes, class 8 sessions are also going on. Just keep an eye, and you just subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you can get the notification. You will get the notification before 30 minutes of the session. So 8, 9, 10 is going simultaneously. Okay. Yes. So now let's move on to the characteristic feature of the respiration as a whole. So respiration, as we have already understood till now, that it is the process of breaking down of the glucose molecule with the help of the oxygen, and basically we get the carbon dioxide and water along with the energy, right? Okay, your name is Darshini. Fine. Now this involves a lot of different types of chemical equation. It is not just one reaction, which is I already have given you. That was the simplest form of the simplest chemical equation. But this basically takes place through a lot of series of chemical reactions with the formation of a lot of different types of byproducts and all. Each of the step is carried out with the help of the different enzymes. I have already mentioned enzymes are the biocatalyst, which help in the maintaining of the different chemical reactions within our body. The energy which is produced in the form of ATP, we call them as the energy currency of the cell, because the energy is stored within that. जैसे हम currency या फिर money को store करते हैं within the bank. Yes, so similarly this ATP act as an energy currency which is stored within the cell. ठीक है? And this is also the cellular respiration is a process which takes place within the cell. Up to this much clear hai? So if you get a question like what are the different characteristic features of respiration, I hope that you will be able to write it down, right? Yes, and you will get the full marks. Now let's move on to the types of respiration. So whether this respiration is taking place in presence of oxygen or absence of oxygen, we can divide this respiration process into two types. What are they? One is the aerobic respiration, second one is the anaerobic respiration. Yes, very good, Pragya. Photosynthesis, physiochemical process. Yes. Now, this aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration takes place in the different organisms. So, what type of respiration takes place in our body? Can anybody tell me? Yes, it's the 1 hour class, almost. So, quickly tell me. Quickly tell me that which type of respiration takes place in human body, aerobic or anaerobic? Yes, quickly. Aerobic. Very good, Pragya. So, aerobic respiration takes place within our body in the different cells in the normal condition, we can say. Do you think that anaerobic respiration can also take place within our body? Yes. No, Darshini. Anaerobic respiration takes place in certain condition. What is that condition? Okay, before going to that answer, let me expect this answer from you. Before that, let us discuss what is aerobic and anaerobic respiration first. Okay, so aerobic respiration is nothing which involve the utilization of free oxygen. अभी देखो ये free oxygen, with the help of this free oxygen, the glucose will be broken down to release the energy. And this is known as the aerobic respiration. But in case of the anaerobic respiration, what will happen? This free oxygen is not needed. Without the presence of the free oxygen, or we can say the absence of the free oxygen, this anaerobic respiration can take place. Yes? Okay. So, now, can anybody tell me whether this anaerobic respiration takes place in our body or not? Okay, no issue. Darshini, that's totally fine. You already have an idea of aerobic and anaerobic respiration, right? Great. So, sometimes when we do a lot of different physical exercise, so what happen, or if we run, so what happens, sometimes the supply of oxygen becomes very less to our muscle cells. Yeah, and that is why within those muscle cells, without the presence of the oxygen, lactic acid is formed, and due to the formation of the lactic acid, what happens? Muscle cramp take place, and this is the condition where anaerobic respiration can take place in certain special cases in our body. Okay, up to this much clear hai? Now let us see one video of aerobic respiration.
Respiration is just breathing, right? Wrong. Respiration is the chemical process that supplies the body with energy for all other life processes. Growth and repair of cells, muscle contraction, protein synthesis, sending nerve impulses, absorbing molecules and active transport, to name just a few. It happens in all living cells, not just animal cells, but also plant cells. There are two types of respiration: aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic means with air, and so needs oxygen, whereas anaerobic respiration doesn't need oxygen. Let's start by looking at aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration releases energy in cells by breaking down food substances whilst in the presence of oxygen. It is represented by this simplified equation. But don't forget the energy which is released. Glucose is broken down by oxygen to release the byproducts of carbon dioxide and water. Energy is released, which is then used to make a special energy molecule called ATP. ATP is how energy is stored for later use by the body. Aerobic respiration happens all the time in all cells, usually in the mitochondria. Animals get the oxygen needed from the air through their ventilation systems. Plants get their oxygen from the air through the stomata. Do you remember how photosynthesis works? Compare these two equations. You can hopefully see that aerobic respiration works in the opposite way to photosynthesis. Plants produce their food by photosynthesis and then through respiration release energy from it. But don't be confused. Whilst plants do release oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis, they don't necessarily take in this oxygen for respiration. They just take in any oxygen from the air. Plants respire throughout the day and night, as do animals, but they only photosynthesize during the day, when there is light available. So this is how aerobic, or with air, respiration works. You just need to remember that glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen to release carbon dioxide, water, and energy. In the next video, we will have a look at anaerobic respiration and how it differs.
Yes, so we have already got an idea what is the aerobic respiration, right? So the chemical equation of this aerobic respiration will definitely include the oxygen. So in presence of oxygen, the glucose will be broken down to form the carbon dioxide, water, and the main thing is the energy in the form of ATP. Fine. Yes. So all the organisms that obtain the energy by aerobic respiration cannot live without oxygen. This is very, very important. So oxygen is really very important for breaking down of the food in case of the aerobic respiration. So if there is no oxygen, then the energy from the food will not be extracted and we will not get the energy. We will not be able to do any sort of activities. Fine. Now this aerobic respiration, as it include the huge amount of oxygen, that is why the complete breakdown of the glucose particles takes place and they produce a lot of more and more energy. Okay? Up to this much clear? Right? So how much amount of energy is produced? So from one molecule of glucose, we get 38 molecules of ATP on the complete oxidation. And the breakdown of the glucose occur in two major steps, that is the glycolysis and Krebs cycle. So always remember, the glycolysis is the main step which takes place in both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Okay, so in case of the aerobic respiration, 38 molecules of ATP are formed for the complete oxidation of the glucose molecule, and in case of anaerobic respiration, where the amount which is taking place without the presence of the free oxygen, only 2 ATP molecules are produced due to the partial breakdown of the food molecules or partial oxidation. Up to this much clear hai? Yes, so yes, Darshini, you will get the Swiflearn customer care number in our website. Okay. So the very first thing, let us see what are the steps which are included within the aerobic respiration. So the very first step which is taking place in the case of aerobic respiration is the glycolysis, which takes place in the cytoplasm. So what is basically happening in case of the glycolysis is the glucose particles are broken down to form the pyruvate, or we can call it as the pyruvic acid. So glucose is basically converted into pyruvic acid or pyruvate in case of glycolysis. Okay. So now this pyruvic acid or this pyruvate will finally converted into acetyl coenzyme A, and then they will enter into the mitochondria, which will in turn go through a whole cycle, and this cycle is known as the Krebs cycle. So this Krebs cycle takes place within the aerobic respiration, but glycolysis is the first step of the respiration which happen without the presence of the oxygen also, and that is why it takes place within aerobic as well as the anaerobic respiration. Clear? So this Krebs cycle is nothing but the next step where the acetyl coenzyme A will be derived from the carbohydrate, fat, protein, and finally it will give the ATP, or that is the energy. So in addition of this cycle, this Krebs cycle is also known as the citric acid cycle. Do you know why? Because citric acid is the very first stable product which is formed in this Krebs cycle. That is why it is also known as citric acid cycle. Other than this, it also has another name. So this cycle is also known as TCA cycle, or this TCA cycle is nothing but the tricarboxylic acid cycle, because the first formed acid, that is the citric acid, is having three carboxylic acid group, means 3 COOH group is there, and that is why it is known as the TCA cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle. So this is all about the Krebs cycle. Other than this, there are the certain different precursors which can be produced, like the amino acids as well as the FADH, NADH. These are all formed in inside the mitochondria. So this Krebs cycle is happening within the mitochondria, always remember, and the glycolysis, the previous step, was happening within the cytoplasm. Fine. So over here, just look at this. So this is the mitochondria. Outside the mitochondria, the cytoplasm, in the cytoplasm, glycolysis will happen, and after that, the acetyl coenzyme A will enter into the mitochondria, and the total Krebs cycle will form. So this Krebs cycle is a series of chemical reactions which include a lot of different types of enzymes in each of the steps. Fine. So finally, what will happen in case of the Krebs cycle? The pyruvic acid will be used up, and finally it will produce the energy along with the carbon dioxide and water. Fine. So this is all about the aerobic respiration. Let's now move on to the anaerobic one. So what is anaerobic respiration? This is a type of respiration which takes place in absence of free oxygen. Okay. So here the main two products which are formed due to this incomplete oxidation is ethanol and carbon dioxide. So ethanol and carbon dioxide is formed along with a very less amount of energy, that is only 2 ATP energy is formed, and there will be no formation of the water. And you can see this is the whole equation which takes place within the plant. So in case of plant, the ethanol or ethyl alcohol will be produced, and in case of the animal, like which happen in case of our body also, when we are doing a lot of different physical exercise, so what is forming? Lactic acid is forming. So in case of plant, the ethanol will form, and in case of animal, the lactic acid will be formed. Up to this much clear hai? Yes. Yes, Pragya, I will explain the experiments in the next class. Okay? So this is the main thing which takes place within the anaerobic respiration. Now let's see where this anaerobic respiration actually takes place. So basically they takes place within the different types of bacteria. You can write down the examples where we can see the anaerobic respiration. So this takes place in lactobacillus bacteria, Clostridium. We can see this type of respiration in tapeworm, roundworm, and very important example is the yeast in our muscle cell, definitely, and the very important example is the yeast. So yeast perform this anaerobic respiration as well as the fermentation, and that is why we use this yeast for baking in the baking industries, right, for baking the cakes and breads and all. Oh, yes, very good, Pragya. So the fungi, all the different types of fungus also help in this respiration. Yes, Pragya, bacteria like lactobacillus, Clostridium, these are the different type of bacteria which perform this anaerobic respiration. Clear hai? So these are the different examples. If you get any question, like give some examples where anaerobic respiration takes place. So these are the examples. Fine. So we have already got an idea what is anaerobic respiration. So here the product will be ethyl alcohol in case of plant, always remember, and but in case of animal it will be lactic acid. So when we have the muscle cramp due to a lot of huge amount of exercise, what is formed within our body? We are under the animal kingdom, right? So lactic acid will be formed and within our muscle cells, which creates the muscle cramp. ठीक है. The process of anaerobic respiration basically do not release any sort of water molecule is not released, and only 2 ATP molecules are released from one glucose molecule. So can you imagine like how less amount of energy is released over here, but more amount of energy is released in case of the aerobic respiration. Okay, so the organisms where the respiration takes place in presence of oxygen, we will call them as the aerobes, or aerobic animals, and where the presence of oxygen is not needed, we will call those organisms as the anaerobes, where the anaerobic respiration will take place. So for example, you can see over here it's already given. Yeast is the one of the very important example of the anaerobic respiration, or it is the anaerobe which is used in the baking industries. Okay. So anaerobic respiration takes place in yeast and any other different types of bacteria which are used in the brewing and the baking industries. We basically get a lot of different types of alcohols, beer and all, and also they are used for baking the cake, bread and all, right? So these are the very important role they play for making the food for us. So let us see a video which will tell you a clear, which will give you a clear idea about the anaerobic respiration. So when you will write the chemical equation of the anaerobic respiration, you have to write the two chemical equation. Okay, one is the formation of the ethyl alcohol, basically which takes place in the plant, and another one is the formation of the lactic acid which will take place in case of an animal. Up to this much clear, Hannah? Yes, let's see the video of anaerobic respiration now.
You are running a 1500-meter race, breathing deeply to get the oxygen so that you can respire and keep up the energy supply to your muscles. Your muscles keep wanting more and more energy, but your lungs can't keep up. Do you have to quit the race? No. In the respiration video, we discovered the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration, and then looked at aerobic respiration in more detail. Sometimes animals and plants can't get enough oxygen to respire aerobically, such as during intense exercise, but they still need to respire to survive. After all, everything relies on respiration for energy. Luckily, there is a backup plan, anaerobic respiration. In this video we are going to have a look at anaerobic respiration in both animals and plants. Starting with animals. A cheetah sprinting to catch some prey cannot take in enough air and blood around the body fast enough for aerobic respiration. The heart and lungs can't keep up, so anaerobic respiration is carried out instead. Here is the generalized equation for anaerobic respiration. See how it differs from aerobic respiration. There is no oxygen involved in anaerobic respiration. It is much less efficient than aerobic respiration, and much less energy is released. This is because the glucose is only partially broken down. Another problem is that lactic acid is produced. This is actually a poisonous chemical that if it builds up in the body, the muscle stops working and you get a muscle cramp. You can only get rid of lactic acid by taking in oxygen again, and thus replacing the oxygen debt. Oxygen is needed to break down lactic acid, turning it into carbon dioxide and water. You know how you breathe deeply after intense exercise? This is your body replacing the built-up oxygen debt. So that is how anaerobic respiration works in animals. What about in plants? The oxygen supply can run out for plants too, such as in waterlogged soils. This then forces plants to have to carry out anaerobic respiration, as they too need to respire constantly. Here's a generalized anaerobic respiration equation for plants. Notice how instead of lactic acid being produced, ethanol and carbon dioxide is made instead. In yeast, this process is called fermentation, and it is used to bake bread and brew alcohol. Ethanol is the alcohol found in beer and wine, for example. And in bread making, it is the carbon dioxide that is useful. The bubbles in carbon dioxide help the bread rise by expanding the dough. So you should now know that when our heart and lungs cannot keep up with the oxygen demand, or plants do not have access to sufficient oxygen, we have a B plan, anaerobic respiration. This is when the glucose is broken down directly, but it produces much less energy than aerobic respiration, which is why it's the second choice. And in animals it produces lactic acid as a byproduct, which causes muscle cramps, and so we end up with an oxygen debt which needs repairing after exercise has stopped.
Yes, so you have already got an idea about the aerobic as well as the anaerobic respiration, and what are the different products which are formed within in case of the anaerobic respiration in case of plants and animals, right? Yes. Now let's discuss the question answer. Let me see now who will give me most of the answers correctly and who will become the student of the session. My first question you can see over here is glycolysis is a process of. What will be the answer? Just go through the yes. Glycolysis is a process in which glycogen is broken down into glucose, or which occur in the mitochondria, or in which the glucose is broken down into pyruvate or pyruvic acid, or the last option that is that occur next to Krebs cycle. What will be the answer? Quickly tell me. Yes, very good. Yes, Pragya, your answer is correct. That is C. So, in which the glucose is broken down into pyruvic acid. This is the very first step of the glycolysis, right? Great. Now, let's move on to the next question. Anaerobic respiration normally occurs in where? Do you think this occur in the grass or cactus or coconut or baker's yeast? Yes, Titiksha, Ankrit, Darshini, I have got all your answers. You have given all the answers correct. Okay, so what will be the answer of this question quickly? So the answer will be D. Yes, very good, very good. So Becker's is the answer. Got it correct. So next is, do the plant respire all the day and night? What do you think? Definitely, this respiration is a process which is very, very important for survival, and that is why this takes place in the plant throughout the day and night. There is a misconception always happen in case of the student that photosynthesis happen in daytime and respiration happen in nighttime in the plants. No, respiration, photosynthesis happen during the daytime definitely, but respiration takes place during the day and night all the time. Okay, so don't just make the mistake. So let's now move on to the one word answer. So energy currency of the cell. Which one is the energy currency of the cell? Quickly give me the answer. Name the following. Energy currency of the cell. Okay. So what will be the energy currency of the cell called? It is the ATP, right? Now let's move on to very good Pragya, ATP. Next is the oxidative breakdown of carbohydrate to release energy. What is the process known as? Oxidative breakdown of carbohydrate to produce the energy is known as? Quickly give me the next answer. Yes, Titiksha, Pragya, Ankrit, everyone is correct. Darshini, very good. What is the next question? The oxidative breakdown of carbohydrate is known as respiration. Do you agree with me? Yes? Chalo. Let's move on to the third question. An organism which respires throughout life anaerobically. Anaerobically? Yes. Anaerobically. Which organism respire anaerobically? Yes, Pragya, you are telling glycolysis. Glycolysis is the breaking down of the glucose into pyruvic acid. That is not the total complete breakdown to form the energy. Okay, energy will form in the Krebs cycle. So the together we can say the oxidative breakdown of the carbohydrate to release the energy is simply the respiration. Okay. What is that third answer? An organism which respire throughout life anaerobically. We can call it as the yeast. Yes. Let's move on to the fourth question. Very good. Yeast is the answer, Pragya. So, common phase in both the aerobic and anaerobic respiration. What will be the answer over here? So, both aerobic and anaerobic respiration में कौन सा process common है? Glycolysis or Krebs cycle? Yes, definitely the first one, that is the glycolysis. Yes. Now, aerobic respiration requires, yes, aerobic respiration require what? It requires the oxygen. Very important. Free oxygen they need for breaking down the carbohydrate, right? And what will be the last answer? A chemical which removes carbon dioxide from air. It's out of this concept. So tell me any chemical which removes carbon dioxide from air. It can be the lime soda. Yes, soda lime. Okay. So let's check the answer. So I hope that you have already got these answers, right? Yes. Let's move on to true and false now. So my first sentence for true and false is aerobic respiration of one molecule of glucose yields 138 ATP. Do you think that this is correct or not? Yes, this is correct or not? Aerobic respiration yield 138 ATP? No, it only yields 38 ATP. Okay, not 138. So it is false. Second question, anaerobic respiration in plant yields lactic acid. It's true or false? Yes, in case of plants, do we get lactic acid? No, lactic acid we get it in animals, right? So it should be ethyl alcohol or ethanol. Fine. So this is also false. Let's move on to the third question. Carbon dioxide readily dissolves in lime water. That's the true. Yes. And the fourth one, all leaves of the green plant normally respire anaerobically at night. Only at night. And this respire anaerobically, that is also false, right? Aerobically at night. So these are the answers. So let's see what we have learned today. We have learned about the process of respiration, the total respiration process in today's session. Then we have studied about the two types of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic respiration. And finally, we studied about the different steps of respiration, that is glycolysis and Krebs cycle. Now let's see who is the student of the session. So thanks a lot to all of you for staying till the end. So today the student of the session is first of all Pragya, Ankrit. Okay, Titiksha has also given me many answers correctly. Okay, yes, thanks a lot. Darshini also have given me many answers. Okay, thank you very much, all of you. So clap for all of you. Okay, so thank you very much to all for staying till the end of the session. We will again meet in the next session. So before going, let me again remind you to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon so that you will never lose any marks, never like you will never miss any of the update of the upcoming session. You can stay with us till in all the live sessions, and do not forget to like, comment and share also. Fine. So we will again meet in the next session. We will continue with this chapter. Okay.